Despite founding principles of justice and liberty for all, the atrocious institution of slavery helped to establish the United States as one of the world's largest and most competitive economies. The free labor of enslaved blacks undergirded the financial health of America and its institutions. Every American institution stands on this foundation, including banks, where the institution of slavery revolutionized credit markets, creating complex new forms of financial instruments and trade networks through which slaves could be mortgaged, exchanged, and used as leverage to purchase more slaves, according to Professor Baradon. The legacy of slavery endures. It is woven into every aspect of our economy and continues to manifest. Let me name a few. The Freedmen's Bank, created to provide black soldiers and their newly freed citizens a secure place for their savings, ended up being looted by its white trustees. Despite its promise of economic freedom and self-determination, in the end, more than 60,000 of its depositors lost $3 million, which was nearly half the wealth of black citizens. I ask you to imagine for a moment the toil it took these black Americans to amass $3 million, as most worked on the very same plantations where they were enslaved as sharecroppers in a system that locked them into perpetual debt. The unfounded association between race and risk and financial institutions established by New Deal housing policies. The Federal Housing Administration systematized lending discrimination as its policies both reflected and reinforced the practices of banks and insurance companies. FHA provided affordable housing for whites, leaving communities of color relegated to riskier, costlier, wealth-stripping financial services. Other examples, the $1 trillion for Black and Latinos lost during the subprime mortgage boom after being steered into risky products that led to foreclosure despite many qualifying for loans on safer and more affordable terms. The failure of lenders to maintain homes in communities of color that they took back through foreclosure or to market those homes in a manner that would maintain neighborhood stability. And during this current crisis, failing to provide lower interest rates and the cost savings to consumers of color, placing them at greater risk of foreclosure during this COVID-infused housing boom. White homeowners have been able to save $3.8 billion through refinancing annually in comparison to $198 million for black homeowners. The Federal Reserve's ongoing monthly support of mortgage-backed securities is fueling these disparities while simultaneously allowing investors to buy up all of the affordable housing stock. The stain of slavery spreads well beyond our banking system, but it is appropriate for this committee to focus on the role of banks because they are different from other kinds of businesses and they have a special relationship to the federal government. As the United States Supreme Court stated, national banks are instrumentalities of the federal government created for a public purpose. They are critical to the effective functioning of our economy, facilitating financial transactions, providing liquidity, and serving as a vehicle for monetary policy. Because of the public interest in these functions, the government gives banks special treatment that no other businesses get, such as deposit insurance, access to the Federal Reserve's lender of last resort, and a system of regulation that curbs risk and boosts public confidence. Now is the time to redress the legacy of their involvement in slavery and ongoing discrimination, not only to stop discriminating, but to take affirmative steps to heal the harms done over centuries. Following the people-led protests in the wake of the murders of Mr. George Floyd and Ms. Breonna Taylor, financial institutions made bold pledges to extend billions of dollars in the pursuit of racial equity. Fulfilling those pledges will not cure the stain of slavery from their foundations, but it will go a long way in advancing opportunity for the descendants of the enslaved. This committee has also taken action to address these issues, particularly the housing provisions in the Build Back Better Act, especially the first-generation down payment assistance from Chairwoman Waters' bill that ended up in the bill for $10 billion. We need the Senate to act without delay to pass this legislation so that all of us as a nation can start to take actions for atonement. I look forward to discussing my other recommendations with the committee. Thank you again for the opportunity.